Guys, do you know what this says? It says important doctor stuff. That's right. I got my long doctor's report from that recent rehabilitation trip I took in regards to getting help for the issues I have since having a stupid tumor in my head. If you're new here, you may want to catch up with the rest of us. And you can do that by going to the playlist on my channel labeled Rehabilitation after an acoustic neuroma. Because today we're going to go through the complete doctor's report from that rehabilitation trip, those 3 weeks. Those 3 weeks where I got therapy for my issues and learned a lot more about what my body is doing. Oh, and at the end of the video, there is just a little reminder about an art project I'm going to start working on. Some of you know what I'm talking about. Shout out to my Instagram peoples. But today's video is going to go over some personal stuff. Like, I'm going to get into my physical and mental health. So I appreciate you being nice in the comments. Don't be a dick. I have to tell you, this full report that I have here in my hands, as an American living in Germany, this really impresses me once again. Like, it's so detailed. Now, they go over a lot of things repetitively, so I thought the best way for us to get through these 9 pages is I'll scan read some of it in German and then give my basic interpretation and thoughts on it in English. To my native German speakers, if I miss something or interpret something wrong, feel free to leave me a comment about that. That would be very helpful. But pretty much I've been through this paperwork a bunch of times. I've handed it off to a few different doctors. I'm waiting for my appointment with a neurologist in November, and he'll get this packet. Right, so the first interesting thing to me are my 5 diagnoses. So, number 1 under my diagnoses are acoustic neuronome links, an acoustic neuroma tumor, left side. They mentioned it was removed on the 8th month of 2017. Number 2, they write Peripher Facil Paris links mit ausgeprägten Synkinesen, talking about my facial paralysis. And number 3, I don't think I've talked about much yet on my channel. I may get into it more soon. But again, I repeat, as an American living in Germany, this really impresses me how serious this country takes this condition. Number 3 is rezidivierende Depressivstörung gegenwärtig mittelgradig Episode. They're saying I have depression. They're saying it's not at a severe level, it's more of a middle level. Number 4 is chronischer Schwankschwindel verbunden mit Gleichgewichtsstörungen und Gangunsicherheit. They're talking about my chronic dizziness, which is more of a schwank. It's like I'm on a boat. They're saying it's connected with a balance problem, and the Gangunsicherheit, this is not one word in English. They're just saying that, I'm a little risky when I walk. I'm not quite 100% safe by walking because of these things. Number 5, they've written Anacusis links mit Hörgerät, oh, that sounded Dutch, mit Hörgerät versorgt. I believe this is a reference to me being completely deaf in this ear. I've never heard it called anacusis. That's interesting. And mit Hörgerät versorgt just means they're saying it's being cared for or treated with a hearing aid in my left ear, which is essentially just a microphone that just transfers all that noise to the other ear. And number 6 diagnosis here from the clinic is Tinnitus links permanent episodische Migräne. So here they're saying that I have tinnitus, a loud ringing in my left ear, and that it's permanent. And then they mentioned that I have episodes of migraines. Luckily, they have been less lately. I've been having more just weird head pains. They're definitely a distraction. They're irritating. But I'm glad they're not a migraine. So the next section on page 1, they just say, weiter behandelte Ärztin, Psychologin, weitere Empfehlung oder weitere behandeln. So here they're just checking off a few boxes of how I should be treated further, what sort of treatments I should get later. in regards to doctors and psychology. And they have checked off here psychological beratung psychotherapy. So I do get psychotherapy. I have a great therapist. They're saying controle, laborwerte, medicament. I do this too. I have to get an MRI every year, but my doctor watches like my blood levels and what medication. I take 2 types of medication when I need them. And the last one they've checked off for me is Heil- und Hilfsmittel inklusive Physio- und Ergotherapie and Nahrungstherapie. Yeah, so they're recommending various care, doctors, treatments, including physical therapy and ergotherapy. I always forget what ergotherapy is in English, and I have several friends that have told me several times. Important is they're recommending that I get further treatment for my issues. So I feel like this first page pretty much sums up what the rest gets a little bit more in detail about. But for me, again, with how I was really impressed by how serious Germany takes depression, for example. Like when I had this conversation with this doctor at this clinic at the end of my 3 weeks, we began talking about my dizziness, and then that progressed into also talking about my hearing issues, the ringing, and weird head pains, which is migraines. But at the end, it was actually her that looked at me. After we talked about this long list of stuff, she looked at me and she said, Frau Armstrong, do you have a therapist? You are dealing with a lot of issues. And I'm like, I know, I'm living these issues. And yes, I have a great therapist. He has saved my life. And I will be continuing treatment with him for sure. And I just found it really interesting that she wanted to make it very clear with me that it's important that I pay attention to my mental health as well as my physical health. And I feel like if I had still lived in America, I don't know that I would have that chance. I don't think I would have that money to be able to go to a therapist in America. I have friends in America. I have some that are literally trying to save up so that they can begin psychotherapy. Help for example, social issues or depression. It ain't cheap. And I guess that's why I'm saying it's really refreshing for me personally that I feel like this country takes it seriously. As serious as my brain tumor. So thankful. Page 2, they get into my last employment position. They mention that I was a shop manager. They mention the amount of things that I was responsible for, how much physical work was needed. And so here we have sozialmedizinische Epikrise, Begründung der Leistungsbeurteilung. So the grounds of their judgment here, where this all comes from, where they come up with what they say in this report. Frau Armstrong musste sich in August 2017 der operativen Entfernung einen linksseitigen Akustikneuronoms unterziehen. So she's saying in August 2017, I had to get a tumor removed from my head, an acoustic neuroma. Seitdem besteht eine hochgradig peripheral paralysis links mit ausgeprägten Tinnitus unwillige Bewegung. She's talking about since then I have facial paralysis and that parts of my face are not working right and definitely not working together with the other side. She writes, so kam es bei willkürlichem Augenschluss zur Aktivierung des linken Mundwinkels und umgekehrt beim Sprachen oder Lachen zu einem unwillkürlichen Lidschluss links. Yeah, she's talking about an issue I have because I trained my face wrong, that the wrong parts of my face are reacting in order to close my eyes. I worked really hard to close my eyes. I learned at this clinic I worked really hard in kind of the wrong way. I was trying too hard. Goes on, Frau Armstrong leidet weiterhin unter einer Anakusis links sowie einem ausprägten Tinnitus. Okay, she's deaf in the left ear and I have ringing. Darüber hinaus findet sich erheblich Gleichgewichts- und Koordinationsstörungen aufgrund ein permanent bei Bewegungen im Schwindel und Benommenheitsgefühl. So there she's saying that I have balance issues and that by this dizziness I start I feel nauseous. She goes on, als quälend werden zudem schmerzhafte Schulter- und Nackenverspannung. Okay, she's saying because of all that, I'll also get shoulder and neck pains. Linksseite sowie ausgeprägter rhetorischer Schmerz links in Narbenbereich. Okay, she's talking about how I have weird pains, and she says my neck, I have uncomfortable feelings in my neck, but yeah, also in the scar area of where they went into my head. Strange feelings. Sometimes I wake up and feel like somebody hit me with a hammer there, like the day before. Seit geräumter Zeit befindet sich Frau Armstrong aufgrund einer rezidenten Depressivstörung mit aktueller mittelgradiger Episode auch in ambulanter psychotherapeutischer Verhandlung. So there she's saying that, I've had a continuous depression, that I'm not in a serious episode of depression right now, and that I am getting treatment for it. That I am currently getting treatment for it. She goes on, Frau Armstrong lebt seit 2001 in Deutschland und stamme ursprünglich aus dem USA, so I've lived in Germany since 2001, and I come from America, she says. Sie ist als shop manager in einer, so she's talking about where I'm employed and that I'm a shop manager. Seit 2019 besteht aufgrund der ungenannten Beschwerden bis Symptomatik arbeitsunfähig. She's saying because of these issues I can't work and I've been out, not working. Als medizinischer Sicht halten wir Frau Armstrong weiterhin leistungsfähig, sowohl in ihrem Beruf als auch in dem allgemeinen Arbeitsmarkt. So there, I like reading this sentence, that they see eventually I could once again return into the work market. Zu empfehlen ist dringend eine weiterhin multimodale ambulante Therapie, inklusive ambulante Psychotherapie, Logopädie, and Physiotherapy. So there they're recommending 3 types of therapy very clearly that I need in order to get back into shape to be working again. A functional member of society, if you will. Moving on to page 4. Anamnese, jetzige Beschwerdung. So now they're talking about my current problems, issues. Chronischer Schwankschwindel, Gleichgewichtsstörung, intermittente Gang- und Zuckerheit, Gesichtsasymmetrie aufgrund einer persistent peripheral paralysis links, chronische Nacken- Schulterverspannung, Migräne, psychische Belastung, Hilfsmittel, hoher grade. Okay, there they are just listing my problems, my dizziness, my facial paralysis, pains in my head and neck, migraines, depression, and that I have hearing aids to help. Okay, and yeah, they're saying that it was important I get neurological rehabilitation. Then they talk about the medication I am taking at this moment. I think I mentioned this earlier. It's just 2 types, and it's if needed. So I have 1 pill for if I get one of those horrible migraines, rizatriptan. And then I have dimenhydrinate written here. That's what I take for my dizziness. It's basically like seasickness pills. But for me personally, I take them because it helps me with my the nauseous feeling. Dizziness just doesn't seem to go away. It's just sometimes better and sometimes worse. You kind of get used to it. But the nausea feeling is really annoying. That goes on. Weiter relevant erkrankungen Operation Unfall. So they're saying further relevant things connected with all of this. Operations, accidents, and so on. They mention chronic depression. Actual emotional weitgehend stabil, but they're saying I am stable. You see that? I got it on paper. I'm stable. Keine Hinweis auf suizidal Gedenken. They're not worried about me being a danger to myself or anything like that. Bei intermitterender Migräne Symptomatik nehmen Sie bei Bedarf Rizatriptan. Okay, that's just basically what I told you, that when I have these intermittent migraine symptoms, I may take that particular medication, that Rizatriptan. I haven't taken one of them in a long time, I'm glad to say. I don't like chemical drugs. Risikofaktoren and Verhalten. This is interesting. So they write, this section is titled Risk Factors, and I guess Verhalten would be behavior. And they just write, Die Patienten sei Raucherin, 10 Zigaretten am Tag. They wrote it with a D, too. That's why I said dog, like a Dutch. So they're saying that the patient is a smoker. I'm a smoker. But I told them I don't smoke much, and they wanted an exact number from me. And I was like, dude, some days I might smoke like 5 cigarettes. I said, but like on a stressful day, I might smoke like 10 cigarettes. And I remember the nurse being very persistent and she wanted a number. And I was like, so max 10. I was like, a pack lasts me like 3 days sometimes. They say the patient is a smoker. And then she writes, Sie trinke keinen Alkohol, Sie haben nie Drogen genommen. I remember again, the nurse like seemed short on time when she was asking me these particular questions, and she asked if I was a drinker, and I said, well, I'm dizzy all the time. I said, I don't drink much. She's like, you don't drink. And I said, well, I have a Radler. I drink a Radler. It's like 50% beer, 50% Sprite, but maybe one a night. But still, that's every night. And she wrote here, I don't drink any. And I know that's not a lot of alcohol. Like, quite often, I don't even drink a full Radler. Sie haben nie Drogen genommen. Honestly, I don't remember her asking me if I ever took drugs. She asked me if I was on any drugs right now. And I was like, no. Next one is vegetative anamnesia. Maybe anamnesia is condition. Appetite, good. Essen, regelmäßig. Says I eat regularly. Durst, normal. Circa 2 Flüssigkeitsaufnahme pro Tag. They say that I drink normally, which I really don't. I do not drink enough water. I'm trying, but I don't. And I don't eat regelmäßig. Regelmäßig. And I don't eat regularly. I am very, very, very much trying to since coming back from that rehab. But I feel like I don't eat enough. I really feel like I eat such little portions. And then it says, this is personal, Stuhlgang, unauffällig. There's nothing special about my poo, is how I will translate that. Miktion, regelmäßig. Schlaf, good, keine Allergien. Yeah, so basically all of my toilet bodily fluid issues are okay and normal. And they say that I sleep good. I remember her asking me how I slept, and I told her I sleep like a baby since this tumor got removed. That must be why she wrote down good. Oh my God, they really get into detail, like just so much stuff. And they talk about, you know, my education background. They talk about the job that I have right now, what kind of job it was. I remember them asking me all these questions, like what I do, what's expected of me, what sort of responsibilities. Then it says subjective Beeintragung für Aktivitäten in Tal. So here they're talking things I may not be able to do in the way of activities and taking part. And here they get into that I have constant sway dizzy, and that makes me unstable by walking. I bump into things, I trip my toe, sometimes more than others. And they talk about being deaf in the ear, with a ringing, my left ear, that I often have head pain, and that I get depressed. I get the sads. You hear the saying, I cannot return to my job immediately. It's just not possible because stress of any kind, even when I talk passionately, even right now as I'm making this video and I'm talking and trying to have some energy and show emotion, my ringing's getting louder in my ear. The more movement I do and more passionate I speak, my dizziness gets worse. The movement of any kind triggers this crap, and I'm sick of it. Moving on. And they end that section just saying that, you know, the constant dizziness and the effects of it have an effect on me, and that I have to often like lay down and take rests. Lay down, sit down, take rests. Big rest taker here these days. Aufnahmeassessment, allgemein Körperbefund, Patienten in guter Allgemeinzustand and Ernährungszustand. Okay, here they just mentioned that physically I am fit. They mention my blood pressure, 120/70. They say my pulse is 68 minutes, that I'm 168 meters big, 57,7 kilograms, and that my BMI is 20. How did they know that? My body's strong. Haut unauffällig, Schleimhaut feucht, and my skin looks normal to them, as well as my Schleimhaut. Like, I love German. Like the inner skin. Health, core, my heart's good, vascular. Okay, they're just basically saying that my normal physical stuff is okay. Psychischer Befund, bewusst und klar, Patienten alle Qualitäten full orient. I'm totally oriented and I'm there mentally in conversations and such. Communication, kein Anstrengen. She's saying I don't have any problems by communicating. Cognition, keine Auffälligkeiten. So, like, I'm cognitive, I'm getting everything going on around me. Emotion, Affekt, Ausgleichen, vorbekannte Depression, zurzeit stabil. So they're saying they've known I've battled with depression for many years and right now I am stable. Keine Hinweis auf Ego oder Fremdgefährdung. So I'm no danger to myself or anyone else. Antrieb normal. Der Patient wirkt auf starke Vertigo und Tinnitus psychisch belastet. Yeah. Yeah, I'm a little... Yeah, they're saying, you know, because of the vertigo and the tinnitus, it can make me crazy. I've said this in other videos. Verhalten, adequate, freundlichen Gespräch, kein Hinweis auf Formular, inhaltlich Denkstörung. So my Verhalten, the way I carry myself, the way I present myself in conversation with others, they're not worried. They don't think I need any other, neurological help in that way. And then they get into the neurological befund, what they found neurologically on me. Okay, so then they say Hirnnerven, the brain nerve. So remember this tumor was wrapped around a brain nerve? The one that transfers the data from what you hear to the brain. And they talk about my facial paralysis, my facial paralysis again, that it's on my left side, and that I'm not completely making my left eye closed. She talks about my pupils, that they do react to light and such. She mentions here that because of the vertigo, I have issues seeing. That stuff is so weird and hard to do. Like, sometimes I have, like, it's like a double vision in this eye. But it doesn't last long. Very, very strange. She goes on to my mouth, my face. She's talking about things are intact but not quite working right. My tongue works right. Yeah, so, you know, she's talking again about my balance issues and walking. That I do keep walking. It's just, it's more difficult now with vertigo. But I do it. And they go into blood, EKG. Thankfully, all of that comes back normal and good by me all the time. Rehab process and forgiveness. Okay, then they are getting into everything they did with me. I told you guys about that. Every week I gave you my day-to-day rundown of the various therapies that they did with me. And they say, Besonderheiten des Reha-Verlaufs, so just special or other stuff about the Reha that I did. And they mentioned that they gave me various neurologische Rehabilitationsprogramm. That's a neurologische therapy. Physiotherapisch, Mundmotorik, Entspannung. Yeah, all this stuff I told you about when I gave you my updates from Rehab, the various facial exercises and walking exercises that they gave me. Moving on. It says, im Rahmen der Gesundheitstraining wurde Frau Armstrong in Themen interior Gesundheitsvortragen, Grundkenntnis oder Rehabilitation, Stress, Gesundheitsbewusst Verhalten vermittelt. Frau Armstrong zeigt von Beginn... Oh, here's a good sentence. Frau Armstrong zeigte von Beginn an ein hohes Maß an Motivation und nahm an sämtlichen Therapien engagiert und interessiert teil. Just saying that I showed motivation and I participated and tried everything that they threw at me in the way of therapy. And I absolutely did. I was so thankful for that all. I wasn't good at it all, but I tried it. Psychomotorisch etwas unruhig. Yeah, I'm unruhig. Ruhig means calm. I'm the opposite of calm. I've always had a little too much energy. I'm fidgety. And then they make the recommendations. I believe I've told you all of this. Need to find neurologist. I need to continue with therapy for depression. I need to continue facial speech therapy training. Logopädie. Schmerzreduktion weiter, manual therapy, and craniosacral therapy. They're saying I should get some craniosacral therapy. I haven't made any progress on getting information about how I'm going to do that around here, or if my insurance will cover it, if I can pay for it. It's looking more like my insurance isn't going to pay for it. And here she makes that recommendation. Aufgrund der ausprägten Sinnkinesen im Bereich der linksseitigen Gesichtsmuskulatur wäre auch eine Behandlung mit Botulinumtoxin in Erwägung zu ziehen. Listen, I heard you, super cool guy that told me you had some experience with this. I think you said you had a student that had the Botox put in their face. Listen, here's how I'm looking at this. Me personally, I mean, it's literally called a toxin. It's botulinum toxin. Only because the doctor recommended this, will I further inform myself of this. I don't know if I'm going to do that. It really does sound like a bad idea. I already thought that before I read the comments who said, don't do the Botox when they tell you to do the Botox. I'll be giving you all updates. I'm planning on having a very good discussion with my doctor about this and why and what it could do and what are the risks. I'd say I'm leaning more towards hoping I don't need the Botox. It just doesn't sound like a good idea. Let me know your thoughts, what you know about the Botox in the comments. I know there's one guy that's going to be like, I've already told you don't do it. I hear you. I just want to educate myself from the people that know about this stuff. Okay, at the end, they just go over what medications I take again and that they are not changing them or making any kind of recommendations in the way of more or less medication. Boy, that was long. 9 freaking pages. They are so detailed. But I mean, I think it pretty much lines up with what I told you guys, what my interpretation was of what they told me as I was leaving that clinic. Right now, it's just a waiting game for me in regards to moving on with therapy and treatments. I got things lined up, and I will be giving you updates. You know, at the beginning of this video, I mentioned an art project that I'm working on. I recently had posted under the community tab here on my channel and on Instagram this unfinished painting of mine. I asked you folks to just tell me, what do you think it needs? What should I add to it? And I'm planning on getting started on this week, maybe this weekend. Big thanks to all of you who left me comments with your unique ideas on Call Me Armstrong on Instagram, as well as here under the community tab. I'm going to take your ideas and I'm going to put them on the canvas, just like we did with this painting right here. You can find this video on my channel as well. I plan on having that video done by the end of the month, and I want to do this every month. Had a lot of fun with this the last time I did it. I'm really thankful for all of you that participate. Looking forward to seeing what we come up with this time. So that's going to be our video today. Thank you for watching. Click like if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you want more. Till we meet again, make sure you take care of yourself.